Hello and welcome to the Randomly Generated History Club, where three non-historians pick a year at random and try to learn things about it. I'm Ant, and I'm here with my two friends, Anna and Will.
Hello.
Bonjour.
So, do we have any corrections this week again from last week? We didn't have anything last week.
We absolutely must.
I will say I Googled tactical rabbit and was shocked at what I found.
Really?
Good grief.
A lot of really adorable rabbits in army fatigues. But anyway, I encourage everyone to Google it. It's not weird. Just Google it.
Not a correction.
Not a correction.
Famously.
Just putting it out there.
Okay, cool. Well, this week we're talking about the year 851. And so, as we always do, I'd like each of us to give a 3-word preview of what we're discussing today. Anna.
My 3 words would be half-brother, buffer kingdom.
Half-brother, buffer kingdom.
I am hyphenating half-brother. So
Still
that it
2
is
words. You're
one.
hyphenating between 2 words.
No,
Are you hyphenating Buffer Kingdom?
You'll have to see.
I don't know that I can accept this, but we shall move on.
A hyphenated word is 1 word.
Is it?
Yeah.
You could do
Last
that.
one, you had 2 episodes ago, you were Martha. What was all that about?
Good memory. Those were 3 words. They don't have to be 3 distinct words.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, half-brother, buffer, kingdom.
Look, I don't mean to be a dick, but you're making a fool out of all of us.
If you can't abide by the one rule of the 3-word synopsis, there's only one rule to this. Anyway, Will, what did you have?
Naughty Danish Vikings.
Now that's a 3-word summary I can get behind.
Summary.
Mine is dirty river treachery.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Onwards. Okay, so I'm going to go first. And what I'm going to do for the year 851, first of all, for our listeners, this might come as a shock, but I did grow up in Ireland.
I mean, it genuinely might be a shock
It could
because
be.
your accent is not...
It's mild, I would say.
Oh,
It's
hang on.
mild.
Wait. This is the first insight into co-host segment.
Personal
segment.
Yeah.
I am
Personal
also a
details.
Libra. But the thing about growing up in Ireland is that you tend to do everything in your power to avoid learning about Irish history, which I've been very successful at until now. When confronted with the year 851, there wasn't actually that much that I could find that I was interested in, but I did find something about Irish history I wasn't aware of, and this is the death of the Irish king Cunnaid MacConnaigh.
Okay.
And so there's going to be lots of Irish names throughout this, so hold fast.
And imagine way more consonants than you currently are imagining.
Yes, and if my Irish teacher from my secondary school is listening, I am so sorry. So
Pretty sure it's not.
I don't know, he loves history.
I actually think we could make a blanket apology to all of our history teachers.
Yeah, for sure.
I've already issued one years ago. This is a different matter.
No, they always expected I knew nothing, so this is just making it self-evident. So first of all, I think we should get a sense of what Ireland was like at this time. It was fractured, lots of kingdoms, sort of clans, roughly in the same lines as the provinces today of the 4 provinces, but much more fractured than that. And there was one powerful province that doesn't exist now called Meath, which is modern-day Dublin and Meath, of which Cunnaid was there and was one of the kings. He was of the Noath dynasty and he was the king of Breda, which was this, centre of power within this sort of province. And his family and his branch of the family was part of a branch called the Slí Néada Sláine, which goes back to the old kings of Ireland 400 years ago. So there's basically 400 years of lineage that fractured throughout the sons of this dynasty, and there's different various people claiming power.
Okay, stop. Right, if you're trolling us,
I
I'm just going to
promise
make
you-
up pronunciations throughout this.
I
and see
promise.
If we can, okay.
I promise.
Next
Slí-
week, our corrections is going to be...
No. I promise you this is exactly correct as far as I know how to
Okay,
pronounce
all
it.
right.
Okay.
I did study Irish as well, so for years. So I do actually know how to speak it and can find a toilet anywhere in Ireland or a library.
I mean, it sounds very legit.
It is super legit. Thank
Yeah.
you. So this dynasty goes back 400 years ago, and it's led to this extremely dominant branch of this family called the Neils, which is of the Neils, that O'Neills in today's parlance. This dynasty who are ferocious and controlled most of the country in the north and the south, of which Meath is, smack dab in the middle of it. But what's really interesting about this time, which I actually didn't appreciate until doing some research, is that the Vikings were very much entrenched and present in Ireland. So previously, in the years before that, they had, and subsequently after this, they still kept it up, is they had come along to the coast, they raided the rivers, the towns, and the freestanding towers that the monks used to retreat into called the Round Towers. They used to smoke them out and take all the riches and that kind of stuff. And then they'd retreat back to wherever they came from, and they would, bring the profits there. But they actually had settled in Ireland as well. And a lot of Vikings, famous Vikings, as you'll discover later on, were actually born in Ireland as well. They were still consider themselves Vikings. So they established these settlements, one of which is very famous is Wexford in Dublin. They established, and Kinnaid had actually allied himself to the Vikings in the Midlands because he saw they were surrounded by these enemies, and he wanted to tamp down some of these other people claiming the land and the thrones around there. And so it was said that he was very active with the Vikings, and they plundered the O'Neills from the Shannon to the sea, is the kind of quote. So the O'Neill clan, they basically just pillaged everything, including burning churches, early sort of Christian churches, and some of his rivals included Tigernach, and more importantly, a character called Mael Shankill, who is the Overking of the Southern O'Neills.
Oh, the Overking is a very good title.
And he was regarded as the most powerful ruler in Ireland. So one of the mistakes, and this is subsequently, one of the mistakes is that Kinnaid decided to burn a crannog in Loch Gower.
Hang on, sorry.
A crannog. Yes, a crannog.
Is that an animal?
A crannog is not an animal, but what it is an old Irish fort that is built in a lake, and it's an artificial island that's created. And then you have fortified timber encampment on it, and then you have a narrow bridge, or maybe even underwater bridge or tunnel to get to it.
Cool.
And it's fortified, and so you can cut it off from the mainland. And that's a crannog, and it's normally the centerpiece of your strategic defense. And so he burned one of these of Mael. So this was a bad idea because 1 year later, as the shenanigans were kicking off and lots of back and forth from this, they decided to call this council, and they gave this conference of leaders came along to sort out and try to make a peace, and they gave loads of assurances and guarantees that everyone's going to be safe. So Kinnaid went along, and he was summarily, treacherously executed by Mael. So was stabbed in the back. It was a real red wedding moment.
Ding, ding, ding. There's today's Game of Thrones
Game of Thrones,
reference.
for our listeners at home.
Got it.
Fill in your bingo card. He was executed by Mael, definitely to the chagrin of the early Christian church representative there, who had sort of sealed the promise of being safe in this treaty. And he was drowned in a dirty river, is what the historical references says.
The fact that it's dirty, too.
Right.
Yes.
They'd have to spend a long time looking for like a really dirty river.
Yeah.
Especially at that time, there's not that much pollution, right?
Yeah, right. What's it dirty with? Just crannog excrement.
Just crannog excrement. There must be a lot of excrement if you're like on an island. There's no irrigation and stuff.
Fair.
Alan, how dirty is that river? It's pretty clean, actually.
Right. Move on.
On to the next one. How far is it? 46 miles. Okay, we did say it'd be dirty.
Historians did actually struggle to find for a very long time where it could have been, and they had to triangulate it and just work it out through some various records and like really old writings, the sort of the tales of Ireland, and it turned out to be the River Nanny in County Meath.
Made that
So the River Nanny, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a river nanny growing up.
River Nanny.
Yeah, you mentioned this before. This is from your time as river child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I was the
When you lived in a
Overking
barge.
of the river.
Yeah.
The Blue River.
Because you used to hold up passing narrowboats, didn't you?
I did.
She used to
If there's
supervise.
one thing I can't abide, it's a narrow boat. I like them wide.
You like
Girthy
your
boats.
boats. Yeah, girthy, thick boat.
And she shared the same view.
She did, yeah.
Old River Nanny.
Old River Nanny. Oh, God. Well, anyway, King Kinnaid, that's the end of his story there. He died. But his successor, his brother was called Flann, and his daughter married a very famous Viking king, as they were allies, called Amlaib, or
Sexy.
Amlib. He was titled in Ireland as King of the Foreigners. And him and his descendants for hundreds of years basically ruled the Irish seas, terrorised everyone, and pillaged as they like. Some scholars, there's some debate on this, but they actually think that Amlaid and Olaf the White are the same person in history. So you may have heard of Olaf the White as a famous Viking king.
Reindeer, wasn't he?
Say again, sorry? Olaf the White.
The reindeer from Frozen. Yeah. No, is he the snowman? He's a snowman.
Olaf's the snowman.
Wow,
yeah.
racist.
Who's the reindeer?
Sven.
Sven.
I've not seen this movie,
Sven.
I'm afraid.
You haven't seen Frozen?
Excuse
I've
me.
not seen Frozen.
Oh my God, my river nanny is rolling in her grave.
Anyway, to bring this mildly back to the topic of history, Amlade was the king of Dublin and widely powerful. So when they married, he took up the battle of fighting Mael some more, but he did have some trouble with.
Hang on, can we just circle back a little bit?
Yes.
The fighting males? Did you say?
No. Fighting Mael, so Mael, who was the one that treacherously drowned.
Right.
Kinnaid.
It is ambiguous.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I should be very clear.
Oh, the battle of fighting males.
There was some trouble with his legitimacy to the sort of inheritance and his status when his own brother questioned. One, did his wife exist?
Oh.
And two, if she did exist, was she even the daughter of Kinnaid? So it completely called into his question his claim of allegiance and legitimacy to round up more troops to go fight. And so he did what he had to do, and he killed his own brother.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So it's still unclear to this day. The historical record is not sure if one, she existed, or two, it was actually her that he married.
That's a really solid burn to ask someone if their wife exists.
Does your wife even exist? Yeah. No, she does. She's just abroad. She's on holiday all the time. Anyway, I guess long story short, Irish history, pretty fun. Yeah, that's what I've learned.
A lot of murder and dirty rivers.
A lot of dirty rivers. This is all set pre-Norman invasion time, because once the Normans show up, it's a total just shit show of dominance. They basically just sweep across the land, and all these kingdoms and spats and kings and all this historical stuff was completely put to rest with just judicious application of superior military might. And then that actually paved the way for subsequent, British rule throughout the years then as well. So this is all prior to that. And fascinating stuff.
It is cool. I had no idea that the Irish and the Vikings were so
neither did I.
Tied together.
Well, they might not have been. We're not sure.
It's true.
Actually, she might have existed.
Some lady might not have existed.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic.
Well, that's my segment. What about who's next?
Cool.
Okay, so I don't know what happened to me last week. And I can only apologise for losing my sense of self.
Yeah.
And my judgment and my mind.
Yeah.
But this week I'm back, and I'm back to a British king winning a battle.
Excellent.
In England.
Excellent.
The way it should be.
Yay!
He's
and
back.
This time, it's against those sneaky, sneaky Danish Vikings.
Oh, more Vikings.
More Vikings.
Amazing.
And it's called the Battle of Acklea, or Ackley, depending on what we're going to go with that. Let's go with Acklea.
Acklea is more
Acklea
fun
sounds
to
good.
say. Yeah.
Which means oak field, probably.
Okay, good.
And the king at the time is a really cool dude called King Ethelwulf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's a good name.
Ethelwulf the Overking.
Yeah, he was, so Ethelwulf, or alternatively, Noble Wolf.
Oh, that's going to be my gamer tag.
With a zero
With a
instead of
zero,
the O.
yeah.
Noble Wolf.
Noble Wolf, King of Wessex.
And last part's not so good.
He's a pretty interesting regal dude. And it turns out he did a bunch of stuff you wouldn't really think that a British king of that time would get up to. So I will tell you some of those things. The first one was that he went on holiday. Which, and I think people don't really
shocked.
think that
A king's going on holiday.
Yeah.
because, and I think people
Yeah.
of our generation, maybe we think of people going on holidays like in the UK, it's maybe like a Victorian thing when trains were
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
You
yeah.
get to the seaside.
Yeah, take the fresh
I don't
air.
know about the States when that was. Maybe it's a similar kind of thing. Maybe it's trains.
We
that
actually still don't have holidays. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, we haven't. Our capitalism doesn't allow them.
Yeah, you just got to
Yes.
keep spending.
Yeah,
evil,
exactly.
evil time off.
Yeah.
But you don't really think of people in the 800s going on holiday.
I think also, what's that king at that time taking time off from? Because he's just being luxurious the whole time. He's just going vegan for a bit or something.
No, he had a bunch of wars.
Oh. Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
let's go.
So, okay, well, I'm slightly exaggerating when I say holiday. Others might call it a pilgrimage. Guess where to?
Oh my God.
Anna first.
I'm gonna go
Bear in mind,
Seychelles.
851.
Ooh, I'm gonna say.
Seychelles.
I'm gonna stick with Seychelles.
Okay,
Jerusalem.
and
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, both wrong. It's Rome. Really boring.
Oh yeah.
But he then spent a year in Rome. And again, I don't really think of British kings at the time really leaving the country. I always think of them sort
yeah.
of just fighting the next door tribe.
Yeah,
and I don't
yeah,
really
yeah.
think of them as having international connections anyway. So he went off to Rome, went there on a pilgrimage, stayed there for a year and left his son in charge.
Wow.
And he also later on in his rule gave a decimation. So he gave like a tenth of all his property and wealth to his people. And he had a pretty good record of giving out this money and being reasonably generous.
That's nice.
Can I just say one thing, Will?
Please.
If you ever call me up and say, hey, Aunt, grab your bags, get your passport, we're going on a surprise holiday, and I end up on a fucking pilgrimage, I'm going to be so unimpressed.
I would say, Will, that if you ever wanted to take me on a surprise holiday to Rome, I'd be down. So pick one of us and let's go.
Please mail in who Will should take on holiday with him.
We should create a tier on Patreon that gets people a holiday to Rome.
With you. Oh my
Oh,
God.
God.
Oh my God.
Do not donate to that.
And the other thing he did, which I find quite interesting, is that on the way back from Rome, he then married Judith, and Judith is a person I'll explain who Judith is. And Judith is the daughter of the king of the West Frankish at the time, called Charles the Bold.
Charles the Bold.
Classic.
But again, I wouldn't have really have thought of kings at that time marrying
People
foreign...
named Judith.
Yeah, but into foreign royal families in this way. I would have thought that'd be like a post-Norman thing. I hadn't really thought about it before, so it kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
And then, so onto the battle itself. So this Battle of Aclia. So what do we know about the battle? We don't know much, which really annoys me because I do love the details.
You don't know how the flanking was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no pricking information available. So all we really know was that it was a battle between the West Saxons, so Ethelwulf, King of Wessex, West Saxons, versus the Danish Vikings, and it was in some unknown location in Surrey. But we do have one important source of information, which is the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which recorded the following things. So first thing, 3,500 ships.
3,500 ships. Not
Yes.
300 and a half or 300 half ships.
No, I think it's 300 ships and then one little half ship.
300 ships and a little sloop.
So they came into the mouth of the Thames and stormed Canterbury and London and put to flight Beowulf, King of Mercia, with his army.
Oh, Beowulf.
Daring stuff, though. Just sailing right up the Thames and burning and looting.
Why was the King of Mercia there?
Well, I think he was trying to defend the place.
Okay, fine. That makes sense.
Kind of his territory.
Not very well.
Yeah. And then went south over the Thames into Surrey, and King Ethelwulf and his son Ethelbald, with the West Saxon army, fought against him at Aclia, and there made the greatest slaughter of a heathen raiding army that we have heard tell of up to the present day, and there took the victory. And that is it. Those are the details of the battle.
Okay,
no more details.
There are no more details.
Okay, well.
Well, slaughter. Check.
And we think it was in Ockley Common, which is a place in Surrey, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
But well done him for slaughtering those naughty, naughty Danish Vikings.
Nice.
Yeah, but there was a chronicle, so there was like an actual a newspaper of the time, and that's all they wrote. So, do you have that edition?
Because there'd been some sort of celebrity marriage that took up the first few pages of the newspaper. So it was battle is relegated to the sort of travel section.
Is it like an expose of what Judith wore?
Yeah,
It was the
exactly.
latest thing that Kardashiawulf had done.
Yeah, exactly. Fine.
Judith and Kardashiawulf wore the same
And by the
thing.
way, there was some bloody war, but whatever.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Fine.
There you go. Shenanigans.
That
Shenanigans
is
of the Vikings.
shenanigans.
That's great.
Ethelwulf.
Great name.
Ethelwulf and his shenanigans.
Ethelwulf and his shenanigans.
Who's next?
I think I'm next.
Yep.
Ethelwulf. My people do not have quite as good names, but we'll get there. So some context. The Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, and its history is for me what Britain is for Will. If I had my way, I'd talk about it every week. And yet, somehow I've restrained myself.
You have not one mention.
I know. So this is maybe the start of many, but here's a little bit of context for you, just to set the sort of geographic boundaries here. In 756, most of the Iberian Peninsula is unified into the Umayyad Emirate, which is centered in Cordoba in southern Spain. So that's Muslim rulers here in Cordoba. And then on the other side of the Pyrenees is the Carolingian Empire, or Carolinian. I actually don't know if the G is pronounced. That's most of France and Germany, and that was established in the year 800 with the coronation of Charlemagne. So you've got these two massive empires that are separated by the Pyrenees Mountains. The kingdom of Pamplona, the city of Pamplona at this point really, stands between them. It's in the north of Spain. It's in the border regions of the mountains. Later, it would be called the Kingdom of Navarre. But for a long time, it exists as a sort of buffer between these two large empires. One of the empires is Christian, one is Muslim. Pamplona is in the middle. They both try to use it to their end in various ways. The area was originally inhabited by the Vascones, this pre-Roman tribe that later came to be called the Basques.
Oh, okay.
That's where that comes from. And they were kind of adopted in a bad way by these empires over time. They're kind of this football that's kind of kicked between these two empires. When the Umayyads came up to exploit the power vacuum in the Iberian Peninsula and establish their emirate, the Basques in Pamplona made a pact with them that made them politically and militarily subject to the emirate in Cordoba, but still gave them a good deal of autonomy. So that's kind of the situation that we're in around 800. I've written here, the Franks did some shenanigans that pissed off the people.
Have you read it?
I have really written that.
A lot of shenanigans happening this week.
A lot of shenanigans. And, maybe in a future year I'll talk about what those shenanigans were. But the short end of it is that in 824, a Basque chieftain named Inigo Arista took power. And yes, as I was doing this research, I did say a million times, my name is Inigo Montoya, even though my father prepared to die. But
it also sounds like something someone working on the door of a club says.
Inigo?
Inigo.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Inigo.
Okay, that's how we're going to pronounce it from here on out, because I'm actually not sure how it's technically pronounced. Anyway, Inigo becomes the first king of Pamplona. And just a cool fact, his second name, Arista, comes from either the Basque word meaning oak or the resilient, or a Latin word meaning the considerable. And I think Inigo the Considerable is pretty good.
Yeah.
I know, we've had a lot of really good names today.
Yeah, for anyone working in tech, will know that Aristas make very good network switches as well, which I can't believe they do.
For anybody who cares about 90s R&B, you'll know that Arista Records, very great, brought us the likes of Mariah Carey.
That's much cooler than my fact.
So anyway, Pamplona, the kingdom of Pamplona, is allowed to remain Christian and just has to pay tax to the emirate. But Inigo and his kingdom were always treated like second-class citizens because of this, as opposed to if they had converted to Islam. And so that's partly why they kind of exist in a bit of tension with the emirate. They're an important kingdom because of the buffer they provide, but they also want freedom in their own right. And Inigo very intelligently continually plays Muslims and Christians against each other to maintain independence or relative independence against these outside powers. Now I want to introduce the other guy in the story, and his name is Musa ibn Musa al-Qasawi. Does that sound like something someone would say at the door of a club?
That would confuse me.
So Musa ibn Musa is the head of the Banu Qasi, which is a dynasty that was south of Pamplona and ruled this sort of frontier area at the northernmost edges of the Umayyad Emirate. So the Banu Qasi are ruling this semi-autonomous region, and he's got Pamplona just to the north of him. Cordoba has too much going on to really get a hold of this region, and Musa ibn Musa is gradually getting more and more power. And a cool thing is that Musa and Inigo were half-brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had the same mother. Brothers from a
Same
mother. Brothers from a mother.
Brothers from a mother, as the saying goes.
How unusual.
So in 840, Inigo, I can't believe I'm saying it. There's no way that's how his name is pronounced, but it's so good.
Can you do it with more of a London accent? Inigo.
Inigo.
And now with a London accent.
Governor. All right, in 840, Inigo's lands are attacked by the emirate, and Inigo and Musa go into open rebellion against Cordoba. Cordoba, unsurprisingly, fights back. A few years later, in 843, Inigo and Musa's other brother is killed. Inigo himself is wounded, and Musa is unhorsed. I probably should have done that in the opposite order.
Yeah, in terms of priority.
Yeah.
And he was unhorsed, worse than the death of the others.
Worse than the death. He lost his horse.
To be unhorsed, does that mean that he had a horse, he lost it in a game of chance to other regal figures?
Yeah.
Or does it mean he was on the horse and
removed.
fell off the horse?
You know what it actually means in this time, and this is a little known fact about history. Horses in this era acted like the animals in Avatar, where you had to make a bond with them. So he broke
He broke the bond.
Sahelu,
We have lost anyone born after 1994, I think, at this stage.
Don't worry,
Sailu
there's
was sundered,
sequels.
and that was that.
That was that. So Musa loses his horse. Inigo is wounded. The other brother, unnamed, is killed. And to make matters worse, I mean, apart from the abject terror of losing your horse, lots of their noblemen actually defected to the emirate.
Because
Nice.
they had his horse.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, I'm going to follow the horse.
Maybe the horse is in charge.
So things are not looking great, but Inigo and Musa keep fighting. And then the next year, Inigo's son and Musa's son both defect to the emirate, which is, I don't know,
a slap in the face.
bad parenting or really bad childing.
I would be so. If I was that father, you know, I'd say, out you go.
I'd say, move, sir.
Oh,
Is that anything? That's bad. Okay.
I think that's understandable, though. There's something very authoritative about someone on a horse. And if you've been unhorsed because Sailu's been sundered, then I really don't think I could follow such a
I
person.
don't think I could either.
Yeah.
I'm with the sons.
I think it's safe to assume that the emir of Cordoba had all the horses, and that's just the way it goes. So Musa submits for a time. He sees he's lost his son, he's lost a bunch of his noblemen, he's lost his horse. But Inigo keeps fighting. There's a brief peace, but then in 850, Musa launches another rebellion. Inigo has just kept rebelling the whole time.
On you go.
On you go. Up he goes. Now, I know what you're wondering. What actually happened in 851?
Oh, yeah, I'd actually forgotten about that.
Yeah, completely lost the run of this. Yeah.
Well,
What happened in
the
851?
answer is Inigo dies.
Good enough for me.
That's good. That is a good enough connection.
Yeah. So he'd had a long illness and he died of that illness, but he was fighting until the end, and he is succeeded by his son, Garcia Iñiguez.
In you went.
Oh my God.
Iñiguez. But that year, the emir of Cordoba dies as well. And with that sort of power vacuum, Ibn Musa solidifies control over his own lands. He makes friends with the new emir, who gives him an official role, names him the governor of a region in the emirate. And eventually, Musa gains enough power that he basically rivals the emir himself, and he's known as the third king of Spain. Do not ask me who the second king was.
The horse.
The horse. There are lots of twists and turns after that, but we will have to cover that in future years. But that is just a little tale of the founder of the kingdom of Pamplona and Musa ibn Musa of the Banu Qasi.
That's fascinating.
Fascinating stuff. I've learnt a lot there about horses. And
I learned a
humans'
lot
bond
about the
with
preceding
horses.
events of the year 851, and then one small thing about the year 851.
Well, no one put a limit on how early I could go.
Does that qualify? I mean, if we proceed in this way, we're really saying that in order to qualify for the year, you just need to do loads of things and then stop doing things in the year question.
Yeah, I think you either need to start, stop, or continue doing things
In that
the
year,
in question.
Yeah, we shouldn't restrict ourselves.
Actually, maybe if people have strong opinions about this, should we ban births and deaths of people in the year? Please write in.
I think we should not put that limit on ourselves.
Oh no, they can write in. I'm not saying we're going to listen to them, but we should write in. It's not a democracy
if you have
here.
strong opinions, we encourage you to write
Kretel
in.
will be right back on the line.
Kretel will be right back in.
You wronged
Absolutely.
Kretel.
What email address should they write into?
Randomly generated history @gmail.com.
Amazing.
Is that right?
That sounds right to me.
Or there's a website, or tweet us.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. Well, that's it. That's the year 851.
Well, thank you for joining us again. That's everything you could ever possibly need to know about the year 851. If you have questions or comments, find us on Twitter, and you can also go on our website at randomlygeneratedhistory.com, and you can contact us there directly.
And that means it's everyone's favorite moment of the podcast. It's time to choose our next year. So, Will, can you please boot up the random number generator?
Yes, I can. I'll just get it out of its special random number generator box.
The oxygen-rich environment it lives in. Yeah.
And crank the handle. Okay, it's up and running. And the year is
Okay.
1902.
Ooh,
1902. That's a great year.
Oh, that's great.
That's amazing. That's actually contemporary. That's pretty contemporary. There's going to be loads going on there.
There's going to be loads.
We're all so excited.
I am so sick of religion dominating everything.
No, you're not.
Well, okay, I'm pretty excited about it. But how do I draw this back to the Medicis is what I'm really concerned about.
You know they were in the mix.
Oh, they were
Them and President McKinley, they were all up in the mix.
McKinley was actually a Medici.
Yeah, you can't spell McKinley, D, without Medici.
Oh, yeah, and we're quite close to the year of the founding of the club in 1896.
Oh, yeah,
that's
you
true.
can read more about that on the website.
Are we going to cover off secret histories? I don't think we can talk about the founding
That's
of the
bonus
club.
episode material.
Bonus
I think.
episode material, definitely, yeah, for sure.
Right, well, there you are. Next time it'll be the year 1902.
1902. Looking forward to it.
Bye.